Let's go, let's go, let's go. Alright, people wanna hate every day, it's okay.
All right, welcome back, Reckless Success. Tonight we got my cousin, Justin May with Southern Illinois Excavators back on. Justin, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, no problem.
You've been on a few times. You're a good guest to have on. Well, spring's here. We've got the work. We've also got the rain. Last night we had level 4 tornado warnings, all that stuff. So
the rainy season is here. It's not a benefit at all with the excavation.
no,
It was funny. So I had everybody, my wife and kids, at the office because it was a block building when this tornado sirens were going on. And somebody called me about a job, and I'm walking around on the phone, and my wife's in the back, like, "Why are you on the phone?" I'm like, "This is business.
Yeah.
I gotta take care of this."
The tornado sirens were going off yesterday, and same situation for me. Lisa was having a hard time, and I'm like, I've got to get this work done. I'm in there looking over this bid, and I look up, and she's like staring at me. She's like, "What are you doing? Come on, hold on, baby. I got to look at this."
Yeah, they're all in the back room, all huddled up, and I'm walking around talking on the phone like nothing's going on. The guys from Florida, I'm like, "Yeah, no big deal. Yeah, whatever you want to do."
Right. My old clan had motorcycle helmets on.
Did they?
Yeah. We don't have a block building. We've got a big crawl space that we can access.
Right.
That I thought we would go in if it was like I actually saw a tornado, but we don't have a storm shelter. We'll definitely have to get one of those.
It's just crazy in the Midwest. I mean, that's the thing about this time of year is it dries so fast. And that's where it's so deceiving. Like, we'll get hammered of an evening. That's what it's been like the past 2 weeks. We get hammered of an evening with rain, and then the next day, sun comes out, wind's blowing. So that afternoon, I mean, the job that we're on now, there's been 3 times I'm like, "Hey, we're good to go for tomorrow. We're good." And then it rains.
And then it rains that night.
And you're like, "Oh, never mind."
Yep.
It's just that part of it.
I used to always, haven't so much lately, but going through the same thing, I'd be like, I thought it was April showers bring May flowers, but it changed to May showers.
Just
that's
make
it.
work very hard.
Yeah, they bring turkey mites and ticks.
Yeah.
May showers brings turkey mites and ticks. That's all I know.
It would be a good season if I was in the mowing.
Right.
Mowing would be excellent right now.
The mowing guy across the street last night. So we had tornado sirens going to go off about like 3:00. Everybody knew these big storms were coming through. About 1:00, our neighbor they mow like, I don't know, 30 acres for him or something.
Right.
Takes all day. It takes a long time. I see him start about 2 hours before I know the tornado's here. I'm like, what's this guy doing? And he was out there in the rain. He had a rain suit, weed eating.
Oh,
and then, like, I guess once the sirens came, he finally loaded up his stuff and left. But I'm like, man, it's because it's that time of year where he's like, man, I've got to mow.
Right.
Or this stuff's going to get out of control.
Right.
Our son mows our yard. He mowed one day, like 3 days later, I come home. I'm like, what in the hell is going on? Did he not mow this week? And it's just growing that fast.
And that's the thing.
It's lush.
Generally we try to generate our work throughout Monday through Friday, 8 to 10 hour days, whatever it calls for. And we discussed before I went and observed the job this evening, we discussed that we were going to work Friday, Saturday, Sunday to finish up this job because they're calling for rain Monday, Tuesday.
All next week.
And, which is hindsight because we've had time off this week because of the rain.
Right.
But yeah, no, I went and looked at it and it's not happening.
Yeah, we would always take our weekends through the week if it was raining.
Right.
If we had nice weather on the weekend, we had to work, and then I just counted those 4 days that I was off stressing my weekend.
There's something about it, though. I got to thinking, I got talking to my dad about it, is that our grandma and grandpa, our grandpa she'd always say he hated the rain, because it just disrupted everything you were trying to do.
Right.
And instead of like sitting around and like watching it or seeing back at home that you couldn't do anything with it, he would say,
he'd run from it.
Go pack the boys' bags. Let's go pull them out of school, and we're gone.
Yeah.
And he didn't think twice about it.
We've done it.
And I'm like, that's a really good way to, like, instead of sitting here stressing about it or this, that, and another, if you don't have something, if the rain just wipes you out, just
Yeah, we started
Go on vacation.
we were on a driveway job for a guest that we had on TJ. We'd started his job. I knew it was going to rain for 4 days,
Right.
but I had figured it up to where, okay, we can get on this driveway, chew it up, and do some work, if it's not raining. And no more than we started, it came down pouring. And I looked at the radar, and it was saying the next 4 days were going to be just thunderstorms. And I looked at my brother, and I said, you want to go to
Gatlinburg.
Gulf Shores?
Or Gulf Shores.
Where'd
yeah.
we go, Lisa? Gulf
Yeah.
Shores. I was like, you want to go to
Yeah.
Gulf Shores? He's like, yeah, I'd go. So let's get out of here. It was like a Monday.
Yeah.
But the whole week was ruined. I called Lisa. She's working in the office. I'm like, what are you doing? Working. I was like, well, go pack some bags. We're headed to Gulf Shores. She's like, when? I was like, well, I'm going to come home and
Right.
hopefully pick you up, and we're going to head out. And she's like, she hates that type of stuff. She likes to plan stuff
Right.
out. But we had a good trip. We like going on trips with the family. That way our kids can play with their kids.
Right. That's one thing about any business. I mean, I'm going to say it's probably across the board of any business that it's like a roller coaster. You have your highs and your lows.
Right.
The thing about the business is if you can sustain and handle the lows, you're fine.
Right.
But the problem is when you go to the highs, you can enjoy it for about a week or so, but then you got to plan for the loans, the low side of everything. You know it's coming. Like
Right.
the rain's coming. Like we'll have fun for a little bit, but hey, we know that we've got to store everything because we know that.
My problem has always been I'm too busy in the highs to actually enjoy it.
Right.
I mean, I'll be excited for like the 10 minutes that I deposit money or something or whatever. But after that, then I'm like, okay, back to work. And then whenever it rains, I'm stressed out.
Right.
Oh no. Now we still got all these monthly bills.
Right. Oh yeah.
But we ain't working in 2 weeks. That's
Right.
half the month.
Yeah. No,
So it is funky weather around here. It would be nice if we could just stay 70 and work all year long. Something.
These heavy rains, I mean, that's just these past 2 weeks have been a nightmare.
This is the worst. I believe these were always our worst month.
Yeah.
So we would go through winter, we'd do summer, stack up some money, get into winter, start struggling, not doing jobs. We'd always work. We always would do jobs, but we would still bid them the same to get them. Because in the winter, you're trying to get any job coming because there ain't nobody calling.
Money moving.
Keep money moving. So they'd call, we'd get them, I'd bid them the same as summer, but now it's muddy and I got to come back in the spring, but it would keep the bills paid and keep everybody at check. And then this time right here of the years was always the worst because you're coming out of winter where you've seen your nest eggs start going down and you're like, okay, I got the work. You start getting the work. Your nest egg's still going down and it starts raining. And you're like, okay. Look, and your nest egg's still going down. And you're trying to get out there and start doing that work. So May was always, I think April, May. Like February wasn't bad because it was cold.
Right.
I could still go do stuff. March, fine.
Any more in our area, it seems like from August, I don't even say September to January, you're good to rock and roll. No issues. You can run compaction in January.
Oh, yeah.
But then, like, people talk about, well, it's the wintertime. Look at now. I mean,
where's my picture?
You're not making compaction now.
I done snow. We pushed snow off.
Yeah.
At that power plant job.
Yeah.
And was getting 95 or higher compaction on that job. And I mean, we were putting it in just mud. I'd look over and that sheep's foot be all buried and it'd be about to turn over. And I'm like, how are we going to ever do this? Just stressing. But I have found out the compaction guys are great, but they'll work with you.
Yeah, they'll work with you. And it's just, and that's what's crazy anymore is that it's like the job I was telling you about that we've been looking at running through the wintertime on compaction. My concern is not November, December, January. My concern is February, March, April, May.
For sure.
It's drying faster, but it's raining every other day.
About this time, yeah. About this time, well, we can talk about the job you're on right now.
Yeah.
So Justin's on a job. It's a duck pond. So what they do is they'll install like a spillway box where you can change the elevation of the pond. So you guys installed an aqua drain box. It's got a 12-inch discharge pipe. we installed some out here at our fish farm. So you put these slots in this box, and that's how high the inside of your pond is. It'll fill up and go over.
Right.
You can take one out, and
Yep.
it changes the elevation.
Very elaborate system. I was impressed.
It's cool.
Yeah.
They're-
With the tools that they brought with it, like the handle to pull
Yeah.
the slides.
Right.
Yeah. It was
Hey, mine's bent. I need to give you my bent one. Go trade that guy out. No, but so they put in this aqua drain box. It's a pretty expensive little setup that goes in. They got the dam in, and then we had this crazy rain just pop up. And what was crazy about this rain is it didn't work across the country like most storms start down in Texas and they come.
Right.
This was just popping up like right at us.
Right.
It was just a cold front hitting
hammering us
hitting a warm front, and it
for
turned to
days
rain.
upon days.
Yeah.
I mean,
So he had gotten about 50% done.
I'm gonna say 60% done. We had the last little bit. We last Friday after some rains, I was like, let's peel the mud off and try to keep going. And then we weighed production over time, and we're just let this open up to drain,
Right.
and we'll let it dry out, and we'll get it going from there. So we're probably 60%. So we have a short little bit to finish. And
You going back to work tomorrow?
no, and so we've had the crazy rain last night, the night before. Knew it
The
was
last
wet
2 weeks.
in the last 2
It's
weeks.
been backing up.
But today, this area is very sunny, catches a lot of wind. I was like, well, I'll cruise out there this evening, and so I can get a game plan for tomorrow, and go out there today. And the dam that we're building is probably, I'm going to say, 100 yards away from the river, the muddy river. And I was so excited as I was driving down through there, that it was dry.
Right. You're riding the buggy
Oh,
out there.
I'm like, this is excellent. I'll be able to bring my dually back here. Like, we can
Right.
work.
We're back in action.
So I was getting ready to start calling, like, hey, we're ready to fire up. And then when I crested the hill and saw, I thought, well, there's the pond, but it's not completed.
Right.
Because the river had come up so much. So it, in hindsight, it was cool. I was able to give the property owners a visual of what
What it
their
looked
pond
like.
is going to look
Yeah.
like. But with the river,
That is pretty cool visual.
Yes.
We'll put a picture up here.
yeah,
Send us that picture. We'll put it up.
yeah.
And so it looks like it's a pond right now, but what's happened is the river down here has came up and flooded without the dam being completed. The river's filled it all up, which is
Right.
fine. He's just got to wait till the river goes
The river
down.
comes
at
down.
this point.
And that's the craziest thing about the crest of the water on these rivers is that we'll have 2 or 3 days of dry, no rain,
Yeah.
and the water will still keep coming up.
Oh yeah, because where we're at,
know.
we live on the Big Muddy River, and that's what it's called. It's called
The Big Muddy.
Big Muddy River,
Yeah.
and it's a big fucking muddy river.
Right. Yeah.
I don't
No.
think I'd ever walk in there barefoot.
No.
But anyways,
I can't say it's ever clear.
no, I mean it's
it's
I've
brown.
never seen clear water. You can't see that far into the river.
No.
It's just brown.
No.
Where does all the silt come from? Just these, I don't know.
I guess the farm
Why-
fields, that's what they're talking about, because the pond that we're building, it's built, we're building it with expectations that the river will come up so high that in the winter months it will
They can
breach,
flood
it will flood everything. And the guys are like, all we're going to have is a gar pond, just those gar fish,
Right.
Well, keep that
Well, I
gate
mean,
open.
decoys float on top of the water. You'll be
Yeah.
all right.
I was like, keep that gate open and let the gar get out,
Right. So anyways, this river, I don't know where I was going a second ago. It floods. Yes. Going to the Mississippi. So the Big Muddy empties out. It starts at Wren Lake.
Mm-hmm.
Starts the Big Muddy River, which is crazy. You would think the lake.
Right.
I mean, you go over to Missouri and the river's clear.
Yeah, not here.
2 hours away, it's clear water. Here we got muddy water coming out of a lake that's clear. I don't know.
No rocks.
No rocks. Our bottom's dirt.
No rocks.
That's it. Damn, we need a lot of rock.
We need a lot of rock, a bunch of it.
Wonder if we could clear up our section of the Big Muddy. Just start dumping
Start
rock
putting
and letting
rock
it
in it.
wash. Every job I get that's got
Right.
a little extra rock, I'll dump it
Start
off.
putting it in there. But yeah, I mean that's the craziest thing about it is that until like the Ohio and the Mississippi,
Stop. That's where I was
Stop.
going, and I got sidetracked there. So whenever our Big Muddy River backs up, it can't let the water out until the Mississippi goes down.
Right.
So even though here we don't have rain, if we have rain, which is about an hour away from us on the Mississippi, if we have rain an hour north of there or an hour south, that Mississippi's still getting fed.
Right.
So we might not see rain for 2 weeks, and that river could keep coming up because the Mississippi comes up from everywhere else raining.
Right.
So yeah, it can be stressful. This river, I've seen it stress out a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
My dad, for one.
Yes. Yeah.
We went on our honeymoon. Left. My brother's in charge of everything. He had, business cards, plans for everything. I had a couple jobs. I'm in Mexico. I look on my phone and I see this massive dam built around my dad's house. But I think it was on the internet or something. I don't know where I saw it at. Yeah, my stepmom posts this picture of this massive moat. Looked like it took 2 weeks to build, which my dad's house was about to flood because the river had come up.
Right.
So they took the tractor up there, built this moat, and then I saw a picture of there was a sinkhole in Carterville, which luckily he went and he picked up a job and done a job while we were gone.
Right.
But I'm like, damn, did you do the jobs that we talked about? I was all confused.
I mean, that's the craziest thing about the rivers and the cresting of the water is, remember, sandbag. The first time that your dad had a pull,
Sandbagged it.
we sandbagged it.
With
and
a shit ton of sandbags, huh?
I mean, it was crazy. And what's crazy about it is it's sunny and beautiful outside. And that's when you're sandbagging.
Yeah,
The
it's
water's
hot.
still coming up. It's
Right.
not raining in our area.
Where my dad lives, he can look down, a couple hundred yards away into the woods, and the water starts coming up through the woods when the river floods. So he'll see it out in the woods, and then all of a sudden he starts stressing, then it keeps coming up.
But
It fluctuates 20 foot.
The biggest thing, like we've talked about before, is in business is the roller coaster effect. I was going up the high end, so excited as I was driving out there. I'm like, we can work tomorrow. We'll get this knocked out. And then as I come around and saw the water, I'm going down. Like, wow.
Well, what happened?
Wow.
Dude,
My plan just went complete. Everything I had in my mind of what we were getting ready to do and the progression of how to do this just went completely right out the window.
Yeah.
And I've learned anymore, like, I don't make phone calls until, like, I assess everything.
Right. Don't stress out.
Right.
Too
I was
soon.
so excited to call and be like, hey, we're going to fire up tomorrow. Let's go.
Right.
I thought, you know what? Maybe I should wait until
Go
I see
check
it.
on
Let me
this.
go look at this.
Yep.
And I'm glad I did.
Man, how close were your tractors to the water?
Probably 20, 30 feet.
Dang.
Yeah.
You're
My
like,
main
man.
concern was I wanted to go out there to check it, and then we had the hailstorm come through and the wind come through last night. And I was curious about, I need to go check on the equipment to make sure, like,
Well, that's what I called you for yesterday, and then you called me back. I missed your call.
yeah.
I was going to tell you, I was like, man, maybe you should wrap the cab in blankets.
Right. I mean, I did all this preparation at our office, like with the dump truck, and moved everything around. I was like, maybe I need to go assess this evening to see what's going on. Like, I could have a skid steer window busted out,
Right.
or the front glass, or the backhoe, or
I packed, so I've got a 100 by 60 shop, and I started packing all my shit in there, dump truck, trucks, everything I had that was outside, putting it in the barn. And I got done, my dozer's here, I put it in the barn, I got done, and I had a spot that was about as big as this table. And I looked over and I saw your Traco sitting out there, and I was like, you're on your own.
I tell you what, that's the thing. I saw my dad's D5, and I'm like, you couldn't hurt that thing
Right.
for nothing.
No.
No.
Hell ain't gonna touch
No.
that.
I
It
mean,
ain't denting that thing.
No.
It'll
Open
bust a
cab.
window, but that open cab D5,
Open
and that's
cab.
when they made them strong.
Yeah.
They're not. Hell, they might be plastic now. I don't.
You know what's funny is when the guys come out on that job, they're like, so that's your dozer. Like, I'm surprised you don't have like a newer dozer. I was like, yeah, no, I understand. I was like, he bought that new in '94. I was like, and he's put, I'm gonna say 98% of the hours on it, and he's
At
just
least.
getting ready to hit 11,000 hours. I was like, that's his baby. Like,
Right. So don't be talking shit
no,
about
I
that
was like,
dozer.
like, that's his bread and butter. He could run it.
Yeah.
And it's
Those are good dozers. I mean, he's got a
yeah.
D4C or
D5.
D5C.
Yeah, Series 3.
Right.
That's what I learned to run on when I was a kid.
Right.
And he told me about the payments, what they did back in the day, and paid it off quick.
Right.
I'm like, boy, how much money do you think you've made with that?
Oh,
Oh my gosh.
shoot.
I was like, original motor? He's like, original motor. He's
Yeah.
like, it could go any day. I'm like, doesn't matter.
I mean, really.
Slap a new one in it or reman one in it.
And with your dad, he takes care of his stuff.
Oh,
So, and he bought that new. I guarantee that oil was changed.
constantly.
Everything was done on it.
Yes.
11,000 hours on that dozer. I
No.
mean, you can look at it and tell it ain't wore out. So, you could, I mean, I see dozers with 14 that are new.
Right. Right.
So, I mean,
Right. No, he's funny, and that's what I've told people. I'm like, listen, like when his dozer's on the job, like we always figure like the time, because he'll sit there for 30 minutes and let it cool down.
right.
He'll adjust the throttle, play with it around,
Right.
let it cool down.
He does.
30
too.
minutes
Yeah.
before he shuts that off. No questions.
Yeah.
Uh,
All my guys just flip that switch off,
Right,
hop out,
yeah,
and hit
no.
the road.
no, I mean, so I always factor in like on pay, like, hey,
I'm gonna take that 30 off, right?
like, all right, you sit there like it, machine's working and running, but I don't know. It's a mechanic. It's why the price of those tractors have gone up so much.
They have,
because it's all mechanical.
right?
You
It's not
can
electrical.
call pretty much anybody in your area and get them to work on something.
You can
of
pretty much
that.
work on it.
Yes,
We had the D4.
right.
What
yeah.
did we have? I think we had a G or C. A C? LGP. We had the
LGBC,
D4.
the wide pad.
And I mean, it's pretty cut and dry. You got your engine, your transmission, your brakes or your clutches.
Yeah,
And it had brake boosters on it. I had to replace one of those one time.
yeah. No, I mean, it's cut and dry, and that's that's the hesitation. I mean, people are like, "Why haven't you upgraded a new dozer?" I'm like, man, the price of them are just so high, and then I don't know. It's just a.
You'll get one soon.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've
It won't
searched.
be long.
I tell you what, I've been searching. I've been finding like dozers like his, like a
Mhm.
D5, with originally 3,500 hours
For like 50 grand.
for 50 grand.
Yeah, I've been
My dad was
seeing
like, in '94, I gave 74,000 for this,
them. Really?
brand new. I was like, well, times have changed.
74,000 brand new.
Yeah,
That
and they set it
to
up
buy
on like
a D4 right or a D5 right now, you'd be probably looking at almost 300, 250. Or I don't know, maybe 200 and something.
Yeah.
200.
just I don't know. I mean, but their hour, what he was charging per hour back then versus what we're doing now.
$35 an hour.
Right. I mean, what we're doing now, But,
But
it's the problem
He's still
is
got it and he's still charging.
you're right. So
Yeah.
it's a moneymaker.
And there's a lot of things about this. So for us, we have a 750K John Deere. It weighs 40 something thousand pounds, somewhere in there. It has to be moved on a lowboy. It's not easy.
Right.
It's not easy getting it in places. You do residential and you get there and they got a mile long driveway and you got a lowboy and you're like, oh my
Right.
goodness.
Right.
So with the D5, you're able to throw it behind the dump truck,
Right.
take it to the job, move it. So there's so many factors that go into, do I want to buy a new dozer? Do I want to buy, like when we were looking at a dozer, I'm racking my brain. Would it be worth it to buy a smaller dozer I can move
Right.
or a bigger dozer? And then I thought, I've never been in a dozer and thought,
I want smaller.
I've got too much.
Right.
I
And-
always want more. Like, man, if I had a little bit more, I could really push here.
And I've looked into that. Like the problem is that you run into we'll just say like a John Deere 550,
Right.
650. The weight's on them because of the cabs, enclosed cabs.
It adds a lot of weight.
So then I'm overweight.
Yeah.
So then I'm having to prorate it because I'm having to have it moved on a lowboy. And
That is
I'm like,
bad.
you
It
know
does
what?
take
Like,
time. I don't own a lowboy. I hire it out, and it is a pain in the ass. I got to go meet them, but not
Right.
really. Whenever I compared, because we move our stuff, we're moving a dozer. It's usually there for 2 weeks to a month.
Right.
And it's probably only working 8 months out of the year.
Right.
So I'm only moving it 8 to 16 times a year, and it costs us like $350 to $500 to move it.
Right.
I think the last 2 times we moved it, it was $350, and one was down to Goreville.
Right.
So I figured up how much that was, and it was like not very much. couple $10,000.
Right,
And I was like, well, wait a minute. If I put a driver and tires and a permit, insurance, oil changes,
I think
a
that's
trailer.
buying a setup for a lowboy would be a growing pain that nobody wants to cross, but you're at that point that you have to do it.
If you had it, it'd be handy as hell.
Right.
You'd use it
But
every day.
the factors of the expense to call, because what I always say is so nice about having a sub, we'll say truck our equipment in, is that when the equipment's there and you look at the driver and you say, all right, thanks man, see ya.
Right.
He's gone.
Truck's out of the way.
Truck's out of the way and we're working. And I've told my dad, I'm like, that would be me or you in the truck.
Right.
And then I'd have to go
And my favorite part about hiring out my equipment to be moved is these guys, for one, they don't care, and they've got to not care, because I'll be going down a back road with a 50,000 pound machine.
Oh, yeah.
The road's rated for 2 ton.
Yes.
We're crossing bridges. I remember I looked back. I went around this S curve in this like residential area, and I thought, he ain't gonna make that. I got a 13-foot blade back here coming down the road. And I looked in the rearview mirror, not my truck. Didn't say May Excavating on it. It said so-and-so transportation. This dude went off in the yard, whole truck, come around, like, to make it.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, I'm glad they ain't got my name on it.
Right. Yeah.
He had to do that.
Benefit to that. I mean,
yeah. And 3 times he's been stuck on a train track. Something about low boys. They don't like to ride with their air up or with them raised, so they like them low. We'll come up to a track, and I'm thinking in my head, this guy's sitting this high off the ground. He better adjust. He won't. He'll come over, get it stuck on the track, and then get out and raise it up.
Right.
And I'm like, oh man, I don't like this.
And that's where, like, on the residential side, I mean, you're like the general, because you've got to think of all these aspects that you've got to discuss with people. And it's like a job we looked at Woodlawn. The road was fine, everything was fine. I'm like, all right, we got it. When you start going to look at a job that you know heavy tractors are going to be coming in, you got to start picturing a low boy, and that's what is going to be coming in here. And that's fine. Everything comes fine to a stop to a 4-way, and then we start cresting. And I told my dad, I'm like, at that point, I'll have to stop the truck driver and say, lift up.
Right.
You have to get high, as high as you possibly can to make this. But those are things that have to run through your mind, because otherwise.
We were on 166 one time, D6N on the back of Lowboy. And I turned right across from the dollar store at the city, where the city hall is right there. We were tearing down some satellites on it. We had the Traco on it. It was a Traco on a Lowboy. And the road it's flat, and then it drops down. And when the Lowboy turned, at the center is where it bottomed out, and that trailer turned like a top. I mean, it went like that with the Traco on it. Traffic stopped. His truck's, he ain't moving. And there's a cop. I'm behind him, and I look in the rearview mirror, and there's a cop. The cop hits his lights. I'm like, oh, man.
Oh, God.
Cop come up. What are you doing? What's going on here? I was like, just give me a minute. I'll get it. I got in the Traco, unchained the boom. Luckily, we had it all chained down. Raised it up, put the boom down and pushed. Truck went on. I was like, we're good to go, buddy.
I was working for a pipeline company as an operator through the haul. And we were transporting the excavator that I was running. So, I mean, it was a crazy experience. The pipeline experience was entertaining. It was, but it was wild.
Right.
And I remember following this 18. They're like, all right, so you'd have to side load everything, which is, if you never coming off a 18-wheeler with the air out is not much of an issue. But coming on one can be a nightmare.
Right.
And I remember I had this older operator that I looked up to so much, because he was a very skilled operator. And I was like, man, I've never sideloaded a Traco before. And he's like, come watch me. It's no big deal. Come watch me, and you'll be the second one to come out. I was like, all right. I'm watching him, and he comes up on. So you're always coming out of a ditch, it seems like. And he crawls up on it, and he twists. And when he twists, he fell off. And he fought it so bad to get back on it. And he finally got back on.
On a Traco or a dozer?
Traco.
On a Traco.
Yeah. And he fought it so bad, because once your track falls off, then you got to slide.
Right.
I remember him getting out smiling. He's like, yeah, just like that. I was so nerved up.
Was it Larry?
Yeah.
That we had an operator in our haul. That dude was smooth as butter. You got good
Slick.
operators, but you got good equipment.
Yes.
I mean, this guy,
He
shut
was-
up.
He
just
was
fluid
unbelievable.
motion.
Yeah, and that's what was so nerve wracking about it, is to see him fight it on that one
Yeah,
time.
you're
I
like,
thought,
damn.
holy cow! But anyway, so you'd get in your pickup truck and you'd follow him. And I remember this one time I was watching him. I'm like, man, you're not gonna make that turn. Like, why are you even trying? And the triaxles fall off in the ditch. I remember everybody getting out looking at me. I thought, what do you want me to do? And they got out and they
Pick
said,
it up.
all right, we're going to leave your tracks chained down. We're going to unboom you, and you push us, get us around here. And I would ride in the track-hoe
Right.
and go along on the 18-wheeler because it's constant. Every turn you try to make.
Just put your broom
Yeah,
down and pick
laborers
them
drive my truck. I'm like, man, don't get
Right.
that dirty.
up. Right. We done that one for that real nice pond for Travis over here where the
Mhm.
topsoil
Yeah,
was
yes,
by
yeah.
37. He's got it looking beautiful. Travis, you got the great looking pond. But we done that pond, and you come over train tracks right at his house, and the lowboy got stuck on it, and there's no cross gate. And 3 times a day, a train would come through there
Oh,
just 60 mile an hour.
Yeah.
That's the one I was stressing about, and that guy got stuck there, and I'm like, dude, raise it up. He raised it up, still stuck. I'm like, oh my gosh, we got problems. And it was a dozer,
Oh,
and it was on the, I'm like,
Right.
oh gosh, we got him out. But man, I was stressing. I was like, dude, I'm telling you right now, trains
right.
come through
Coming.
here, and there's no signal. I think it may have had the lights, but
It
it
has
didn't
the
have,
lights,
it
that
didn't
was
have
it,
the
yeah.
thing that come down.
That's the thing. The company that we use, they do excellent on their driver is excellent, but they have a high deck trailer, so you never have to necessarily worry about the crest. The stress comes from loading.
Right. They moved our dozer a couple days ago.
Yeah, the stress.
I was using
comes
my
from-
other guy, and that guy, I don't know what happened to him. It was during that storm, and he fell
Right.
apart.
Right.
I got 2 guys waiting to load a dozer and help move it. And I call him. I'm like, they've been waiting an hour. I talked to him the night before. He'll be there at 7 o'clock. I said, make it 8. Let the school
Right.
traffic. All right, 8 o'clock, he'll be there. 9 o'clock, I call him. Like, he doesn't answer.
Right.
2 guys an hour away to load a dozer. I'm like,
Right.
come on now. I text him. He doesn't. He says, I thought the driver called you. I'm like, okay, now what's that mean? Like, I
Right.
need more
Right.
information than that. So finally, after like 20 more minutes, I'm like, I'm going to just see what's going on here. 10 more minutes. I call him again. He answers. Acted weird as hell. He's like, hello? I was like, hey. He's like, who's this? I'm like, the dude that you're moving his dozer. And he's like, oh, yeah, I told Gene to call you and all this. I'm like, that was weird. I'm calling a business and you're like answering the phone all strange.
Right.
So I called the Ramsey Excavating. It's another excavating company around here. And I'm not scared to use another excavating company for a service they have.
No.
I mean, it's not really competition like that. So I'm just happy they offer that service of moving
Yes.
equipment. And
Yeah.
I called them. Bam. Within 45 minutes, they had a truck there, loaded it. I told my guys to go down to the gas station, get something to eat, go drive around, look
Right.
at something, whatever. It's going to be a while. The driver called, Trevor,
Yeah.
and he's like, hey, what's the code to this dozer? I told him. I was thinking, well, my guys ain't going to bitch because you got a high deck and
Right.
they're
Right.
used to
You're
going on
nerved up.
a
Yeah.
low boy. So my guys got there and they said he's loaded up, ready to go.
No, I think we should. I wanted to give a shout out to Trevor with Ramsey Excavating. Excellent truck driver.
Yeah.
And keeps in correspondence. Like, that's what I like so much about him. Like, you'll see him pull up instead of going off in somebody's yard. Like, he'll pull up, back up,
Right.
and wiggle around to eliminate any issues for yourself. As you're following them out with your logo on your truck. Like, golly,
Right.
Trevor, you're a good one, buddy.
It's because they don't want to get their tires dirty. They got to clean those trucks too much. They don't want to get dirty. But
he's
yeah,
a good
Trevor's good.
Yeah.
He made it happen. Nick made it happen.
Oh.
But they made it happen. They got the dozer moved for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's always good. It's good to use other companies.
Yes.
Like I said, if you go into it with the mentality, Justin owns an excavating company. Ramsey owns an excavating. All the excavating companies, I don't know one that I don't get along with.
Right.
And I'll call them, hey, you got rock? We get crushed
Right.
rock from one, and one moves our equipment. And then they call us if they're overloaded, or
Right.
we send
Yeah.
work their way.
Yeah, no, it's an excellent circle that goes around in our local area that
Right.
everybody kind of helps each other out, and I remember tearing that house down and it was pouring down rain every day of the week, and I had Ramsey doing all the versus having dumpsters come in. I had Ramsey's trucks, and I thought, this is pretty cool that you're getting to work every day because of this job that projected that we can do this in the rain. And then they, everybody just tosses things around. It's not, can't really say. I mean, it's a competition down at on these bids at the last, line. But what's crazy about it is even whoever gets it will still outsource and say, "Hey, can you help me on this aspect?
Oh yeah.
Can you help me on this?"
I don't know how many jobs I've showed up to for another contractor that I bid on,
Right.
and I'm doing the work or
Right.
doing a part of the work. I'm like, hey.
Right. Yeah.
The best one was the one outside of town. This guy's in prison for killing my buddy. Damn, I didn't even think about that. So this customer had killed my buddy.
Yeah.
That's a pretty crazy story. So I get this customer. He calls me. It's in Carterville on the south end of town. He's got a pond. Come look at it. Okay. So yeah, I had this customer that killed my buddy. This is real life in our business here. So I go outside of town. He calls me over and I look at this job and I bid it. And this is when I first started. Fixing this pond was like 12 grand.
Right.
Nowadays I would be like, it wouldn't even touch it.
Right.
It was a big pond, but I had an old case dozer and a mini.
Right.
So I bid the pond. The guy's, he's like, no. He's like, okay, we'll think about it. I never hear nothing back. Right. So a couple weeks later, me and my dad are driving around. I'm like, let me run by this job I looked at, just see what's going on.
Right.
There's a company in there. They've got a skid steer in the bottom of this because he had a pond and he wanted it dredged out deeper or lowered. He had already pumped all the water out, but it was just a big, dry, mucky pond. We go by there. They've got a dumpster in the center of this pond, and they're loading dirt into the dumpster like a 30-yard roll-off. It didn't make no sense to me how they or what they were doing.
Right.
The skid steer had wheels.
The skid steer had wheels. With the wheel fell off. It was like in the pond. Do you remember? The skid steer wouldn't move. Like the wheel had fell off. The skid steer wasn't on tracks. Right. It's stuck down in the center. They got a roll-off dumpster. What they were doing, like it's loaded with dirt. For one, a truck ain't picking it up.
No.
Truck ain't getting to it, and their tractors weren't moving it. I don't know what the fuck. There was something else. They had like a little tractor. There was 2 broke down tractors stuck in the bottom of this pond with a dumpster.
He's the lowest bidder.
He was the lowest bidder. And I mean, we drove by it. After that, I'm like, oh, I've got to watch the progress on this. I never heard of this company, never seen them. A couple of old meth head looking dudes. And so like months goes by, their shit's still stuck there. And they couldn't get it fixed.
Right.
They might have bid it at 5,000. I don't know.
Right.
And they call me again. Well, it's been a few months now. I mean, I spent time bidding this. I didn't just slap 12,000 on it. I went and met with them, bullshitted. I came home. I put all the numbers on it, thought about it, stressed about it, turned it in. So they call me back. I'm going to and I don't realize it when they call me back. Hey, we got a pond. We had a contractor in here, and he's not doing too good. We'd like to give you to give us a bid on it. All right, I'll be over this evening. I'm driving over there, and I'm thinking, man, I'm getting awful close to that house where these guys were, and this is now flashing back. Do you think these people have called me twice? And I turn the block, and I'm looking at my GPS. I'm like, holy crap. That's these people's tractors, dumpster in the pond, tractors still sitting there. And they made a mess. Everything they'd done, they just made a mess.
Yeah.
It was so bad. They'd piled up dirt, right? It was just all over, piled up. And the guy calls me. I get there, and I got out of the truck, and I was just, now at this point, I'm like, all right.
Right.
Because they just hit me that I'm back at this job. And I'm like, all right, you want to go with the cheapest bid. Yeah. Now my head's getting big, And I get out, and as they're walking up to me, I can see that they're realizing, damn, it's the guy that we called.
Right.
And I was like, well, what do we have here? And he's like, what, so he's thinking at this point it's going to be cheaper because these guys did pile up some mud on the side. They hadn't done nothing.
Right.
I mean,
It's never cheaper.
the pond was like 4 foot. They took it to like 4.5 feet with a big mess and a bunch of tractors in the way. And they're like, well, how much would it be now? And I was like, well, now it looks like I got to get rid of that big pile of shit. I got to get all this out of the way.
Right.
I got to deal with another contractor that's going to be mad that I've got his shit out of the way because it was in my way. I couldn't work.
Right.
And I was like, it's going to be more.
Right.
His bid went literally from like 12 to 16, I think.
Yeah.
And we drug their shit. Had to get their tractors, and I drug them. Him and his neighbor were going in on it, and I drug him over to his neighbor's yard. And
another way.
Because we were filling where they're,
right,
that area with dirt on his yard. So I couldn't leave him in his yard because I'd be building around the tractor. So I drug him to his neighbor's. Well, we still ended up building around a little bit. So when they moved them, they were gone a few months later. But
and that's go ahead.
So that customer killed my damn buddy. He paid me. He was good, and he had money and had a nice house. But then a couple years later, him and my buddy, I guess he got on dope. My buddy was running dope hard for his whole life. And they got into an argument, and the dude pulled out a gun and shot him right here in Cambridge. Shot him and the tow truck driver. So I told the story about the tow truck driver that dropped off my car for $50 the night.
Yeah.
So he got shot too that night by my customer.
Oh, shit.
But that tow truck driver, when I first met him, he had this tow company. He wouldn't do meth.
Right.
He was older. I was just a little kid, all methed out. And he called me one day. He wanted to come over. I knew his younger brother. And this is an older owner of a tow company. And he came over with a case of beer to the hill that I lived on. He had 2 cases of beer. He had one for me and one for him. I was all jacked up. He's like, here. And he had a case. He's like, we're going to drink, talk, hang out. I'm like, all right, whatever. I'm just a little meth head. And this is some old dude that's a tow truck driver company. I got respect for him, but I didn't give a fuck to work anyways. So he calls me up. He comes over. I'm watching this guy drink. He drank an 18-pack of Budweiser in no time, in like 2 hours.
Really?
He's just crushing them.
Right.
I got like 2 out of my case.
Right.
He drank his whole case. He was getting in my case.
Drink more.
So much so that I had a trash can that was empty sitting beside the couch there. And when I looked over, the trash can had Budweiser cans piling out of it. I thought, damn, this guy's drunk, man. I respect him, and he's older, yeah.
Right. You just never know. I mean, people are...
So then he gets rowdy. He gets mad. He gets mad at me. He's older, and I'm a young guy.
That's what happens.
And now he's rowdy. And I got him at my house, and I'm all jacked up on meth, and I've only had a couple of Budweisers, so I'm really coherent. I'm like fucking all geeked out. And this fucking guy's over here all slurring his words. Right. And he starts talking shit. And I'm like, and this is like just when cell phones started having a camera.
Oh, yeah?
I filmed it, whether I had a camera on my cell phone or I had a camera. Because I had it on film for a long time. So I had a digital camera because I had this film for a while. And he starts wanting to fight me. I'm like, I'm a little cracked out 20-year-old,
Right.
This dude's like some big old burly tow truck driver. Yeah. And we go out in the front yard. The fucking sun was coming up, which wasn't new to me. I mean, sun come up every day for me. I was always up.
Right.
But I didn't take note that the grass was all dewy and it was getting daylight, and this guy's been drinking since last night, and he's fucking drunk. And he comes running at me.
He's easy then.
And he swung his foot at me. So my house is called The Hill.
Yeah.
Because our house sit on a hill. We had like a 10-foot flat front yard, and then it went down a hill. Well, when I went outside, he couldn't even barely walk. I wasn't stressing, you know what I mean? This guy could barely even stand up to want to fight me.
Been drinking all night.
Budweisers. He's
hit
drunk.
Him hard.
And I'm talking like he drank like 30 of them. So he
knock him out. You do him a favor.
I didn't touch him. Listen, it gets good. He comes running at me, and he kicked his little fat leg. He was fat at the time. Now he's lost a lot of weight now, obviously. But he comes running at me, he kicks, and he misses. I jumped out of the way, he misses me. And his leg goes up, and his fat ass flew up in the air, and he landed back on his back.
Oh, no.
Listen, he landed flat, And all of a sudden he started sliding down the hill. And he slid down the hill. And I had it on camera, dude. We watched it. I didn't get it it wasn't like World Star, but I got like a guy running at me, and I stop, and he's like, and he starts all fat, and then the grass is all dewy. He starts sliding. So he gets up. He's madder than hell.
Yeah.
Because now he's really made himself look like an ass. And I'm laughing.
All right. So how's he going to come back up the hill?
He got back up it, and he gets in his car and burns out. And this has happened to me a few times. Like, I've been around drunk people. I've tried to stop him. And I think that's what we were fighting about. I think he was ready to leave. And I was like, dude, you can't even walk.
Right.
And that's what got us arguing. So he left. He hopped in his car, and he made it to the Hearst Bridge and flipped 17 times, going 100 and something mile an hour. That's crazy. He was fucked up.
You know, it's a funny thing about our bloodline, really, if you think about it. It's fine to do you and enjoy yourself and drink, and Charlie was big on that.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a fine line of like what you do.
Right.
And
I like to get messed up, but I don't like to get out of control. There was a point where I was out of control, and it wasn't good.
The couple, but I like to control it. That it's kind of like a game,
right?
Like be productive and whatever on a weekend,
right?
But I went to a local bar and sat down to eat a meal, and
this is like 2 weeks ago.
Right. Everything was fine, but you got the really loud drunk person that just wants to be obnoxious. Like, I'm just in there quiet. Like, leave me alone.
Just chilling.
Just chilling.
Just because I'm at the bar don't mean I want to.
No, I'm just having a beer and eating my food. And they want to be loud, and then they think that because you're in there, you want to drink and be loud with them. It's not really my thing.
Right.
And when I got home, and Easton, my oldest son, he was like, "What happened to your hand?" It's like, well, I don't know. You know.
Apparently, I knocked some guy's teeth out. I don't know what happened there.
Like,
some guy said something he wasn't supposed to. I think it's funny. So Justin's a business owner. He's got a family. He doesn't fight. He doesn't go out looking for fights.
No.
But if somebody messes with him, he's gonna fight. You know what I mean? You're not going to take no shit.
No.
You ain't looking for no shit, but you ain't going to take none.
No.
But our grandpa, Charlie, he really didn't take no shit. And he wasn't, like, Justin, you're probably, how tall are you?
6'5".
6'5"?
Yeah.
Fucking guy's 6'5".
Yeah, I've not had many
do they even make that? 6'5"? They make a person that big? 6 fucking 5? Is that a basketball player or what?
No, I didn't.
But our grandpa was probably like 5'5" at this age or so. And he would knock the shit out of you. Like, I'd see people all the time. And they're like, "Who's your grandpa?" And I'm like, "Charlie." And they're like, "Bad motherfucker." That's a bad dude.
And that's what's so cool about it is that you carry yourself in a respectful manner, but I'm not putting up with no shit. And in today's world, I feel like people are really pushing that to see how far you'll go.
When they find out, they're like, damn it. The fuck happened?
He wasn't just talking. You know, the quiet guys are the scariest ones.
Right.
And we're going to dive into the story me and Jesse at the time weren't talking very much. I was young. Jesse was older. We were into different things. I was just graduating high school.
I was cooking meth. You were going to prom.
And I didn't really know what was going on with their life. I knew obviously I was around them quite often, but it was a cool scenario that I saw that of family blood, of how strong it goes on the feet of we protect each other. And I'll let you go from there on that story.
So, yeah, it pretty much went down. So my brother and I were over at our lifelong friend's house.
Right.
We'll call him Sunshine. I don't fucking know. I couldn't
Sunshine,
think of it.
Yeah.
No, we're over at our longtime friend's house. We get a call from our dad, I believe it was, that was like, "Hey, Justin's having a problem with this guy.
Yeah.
And if, he's from Heron and his name's John and here's what's going on." And he tells us, and my brother got the call and he looks over and he's like, "Hey, That's the guy that they just called about.
Right.
And I was like, shit. So we grabbed the guy. We grabbed the guy up. I don't know. We took the guy. We took the guy and called him back and was like, hey, we got the guy. What do you want to do with it?
That was a phone
So
call.
we had
I
a guy
got.
fucking with our cousin, and he happened to be in the same room when we got the call of where we were at. So the guy went with us, and we called our uncle and said, hey, we got the guy. What do you want to do with him?
Right. And that was
We let him go.
right. They
He just
did.
got shook up
Yeah.
a little bit. He
Yeah.
didn't. Did he fuck with you anymore?
No.
No more fucking
One
with your
time.
cousin.
One time, and that was we finally met each other,
Right.
and then we put a wrap on that.
Right.
But what with that is Jesse and David were my cousins, first cousins, but we didn't have a lot to do with each other at that time.
Right.
And I was just so surprised that how fast you guys moved.
Right.
And it was very respectful of the family name. Like, we got you. No
Right.
matter what you were in, we got you.
Right.
And it was very, I remember I was just so shocked when my dad called me and said, hey, they got him. What do you want us to do with him? I was like, that was 5 minutes ago.
Let me think on this for a second. I got prom this week.
But no, it was
We,
everything worked out fine and nobody got hurt. And
We had a guy one time, and I might have told this story before if I did cut it out, but I'm sitting there on the hill, and the guy that I just gave the story about that got killed by my customer, me and that guy are sitting on the hill. We're at the house. My dad calls me. My dad's having to do weekends for like some driving shit.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere, and I hadn't really been talking to my dad much at this time. We'd went like a couple years because I was all strung out, and he's working, and he just calls me out of the blue, and he's like, hey, I'm doing weekends, and there's some bad dudes over here, and they're talking about looking for you, and they got a plan, they're gonna get you and all this stuff. He's like, they're talking about killing you, dude. He's like, they're mad, and I'm like, damn, that's crazy. I'm like, wonder who it was, because I was running wild as hell. I mean, I'd had a list. My name is Earl list that's 200 pages long.
Right.
So I'm sitting there contemplating this, and I'm like talking to my buddy. I'm like, damn, man, my dad just called and said that people's looking for me, and this black car pulls up within like 20 minutes, and it could have been 2 days. I don't know. I was all geeked out, right? We're sitting there getting high. This black car pulls up, and this girl I know, we'll call her Mandy Ilke,
Right.
gets out of this car. I know her.
Yeah.
In front of our house, and
Ilke,
she's
yeah.
screaming.
Yeah.
They got my baby. They got my baby. Like, I don't know what the fuck's going on, but I'm thinking about these people wanting to kill me. Now I got this car pulling up, like burning out in front of my house, and my four-wheeler's sitting right there, and we hopped on the four-wheeler. Bean hops on back, and we chase this car down. The guy got away. But the cops got him, I think. I stopped whenever we got a little too crazy.
Right.
One of those. But it was a weird-ass day. But we take off chasing after the car, and we get the car rather stopped, or the cops got him right down the road. She got the baby back. But it was just a trippy day. Like, what the fuck's going on here? I mean, there were so many people at that time.
Right.
Like, I was a bad dude at that time. So people, just like our buddy. So when me and my brother got jumped one night, or kind of, we got surrounded.
Right.
And I told this story yet, Lisa? So we got in a fight with the guy earlier in the day. My brother basically hopped on him and started whooping him, and he had a buddy with him. And I told his buddy not to move. Well, my brother's on top of this guy whooping him, so I threw in a couple kicks.
Right.
I'm like, fuck. Because the guy was talking shit to me anyways. My brother ran and jumped on him before I could even get to him.
Right.
The guy talking shit to me. As he's talking shit to me, my brother's jumping on him, whooping his ass. So when my brother got him down, I bombed him in the head a couple times at the boot, right? So that night, like, that dude's cousins, and I'm talking like 20 of them, pulled up. And it was me and Dave and some old dude. We come out the house, and we're like, what's up? And I look, I'm like, we're fucked.
Right.
My brother had a bat, because we knew they were coming after us. Well, I just bought us both these big knives that went on your belt.
Yeah.
They slid down. So we go out. Like, these dudes are really going to kill us. Like, it was a bunch of rough dudes from Hurst Bush. Like one of the dudes is like the president of a big motorcycle gang now.
Right.
So they got us surrounded. They got my brother's ex-girlfriend in the truck.
Oh no.
He's talking to her. He's worried about her. I'm looking at all these cousins that got us wrapped around this truck. I mean, there's like a whole circle of them, right? And one of them, which is a real bad dude that's like, I'm talking, he's been to prison for kidnapping,
Right.
torture, all kinds of stuff, some crazy shit. And he gets down on his knees. He's on the other side of my brother, and he's like, kick me in the motherfucking face like you did my cousin. I'm like, we're in a tight situation here. And my brother's fucking talking to this girl like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? I'm thinking in my head like, oh shit, we're in a bad spot. And I see this guy back up, and he goes to hit my brother. Right when he hits him, I had dropped that knife out, and I got him in the hand. And when he realized what the hell had just happened, this dude just bolted. But I've never seen somebody come up. The dude hit him good and square. He wasn't looking. It was a sucker punch from the side. So my brother goes down. But as he comes up, he dropped his knife too. Bam, bam. He hits her, because this guy's running. He hits our tires as he's running by the truck to keep all these 20 from leaving. I'm like, shit, like he's ready to get down now. He done got fucking punched. But I done got this dude. This dude bolts across the field. My brother's on his heels chasing him. They get away. And then as we're running back to all the guys, because now we're going crazy. We got our knives out. We're like, this is what you want? You know? And it was like a bunch of people we know. Our buddy Big Pete was there. Jordan that just got arrested was there. That he got in a fight with me one time, broke my nose. A bunch of Hearst guys. So when we're coming back, they're leaving, but they got flat tires on one side, so their cars are, and they leave. They run off. So I saw one of the main ones at the bar, at the Freedom Bar a while back. And he was like, dude, I was looking for you for a long time. He's like, but I also knew that you were crazy as fuck, so I was hoping I didn't run into you. He's like, but I forgive you. And I was like, dude, I was a crazy sumbitch then.
I tell you
I
what.
ain't gonna lie.
So everybody's calmed down in their older age.
Right. Party's over.
100%. Because everybody doesn't understand what consequences are anymore. But we had a little scuff, was that 2 years ago?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck.
And
still getting into it.
Yeah. So 2 years ago, and or roughly around then, and me and you and Brother Dave and everybody, we were just kind of just checking things out in a more respectful, like serious matter.
It wasn't like that at all. So what really happened?
I was trying.
What really happened was we're all older now, but my son, which was like 13 or 12, went to my dad's. So across the street from my dad's was some meth heads moved in.
Right.
I used to be a meth head. I'm not knocking the meth heads. They're meth heads.
Right.
So the meth head come over to my dad for something. My dad pissed him off, but my dad's a loose cannon too.
Right.
He might have been like, fuck you meth heads, you know, whatever.
There's no telling.
Who knows? So while my dad's pulling out of the driveway with my son, this random meth head shows up trying to fight my dad.
Did he have a
60
knife?
Years old. No, my dad had the knife.
Your dad had a knife.
Or maybe he did have a knife. He pulled out a knife.
He pulled out a knife.
My
And that's
dad
when your
pulled out
dad
his big
said,
old Rambo
guys,
knife. Yeah. My dad's got fucking swords and machetes and shit like that all over the place. So he likes knives. So the guy pulled out, he's talking shit. My dad stops, gets out, and the guy pulls out a knife. My dad pulls out his big Rambo knife, tells him he'll kill him. Comes here to my house, tells me about it with my son in the truck, and it's my dad.
Right.
Like, you ain't gonna fucking fuck with my dad.
I just remember being, what time? It was like 9 o'clock at night, and you called me and said,
enough.
I'll pick you up. I'll take you up there.
I need to
we're
come
going to
get
handle
you.
some stuff. I said, okay. Yeah, I'm here. Pick me
We
up.
gotta go do some real bad shit, and I don't want to tell you what it is, but it ain't good.
But I'll pick you up. That's all that mattered to me. You'll pick me up. Yeah.
Yeah, we so we went up there, and they had a meth head trailer, and we fucking were beating on the doors, trying to get the meth heads to come out. They wouldn't come out. And we finally got a woman to crack the window.
Power show.
We was rocking the trailer like we were fucking mad. They didn't want to come in. So then I saw the power box on the outside of the trailer had a big fuse on it. And I went and flipped that switch.
No,
I did that.
I was watching him do it. I was at the corner. I was watching the fence to make sure nobody.
Yeah, we had this trailer surrounded. They weren't coming out any window or any side. It was me, you, My brother, Joey,
Yeah,
Eli,
everybody was
my
hot.
buddy Eli come up, and we were madder than fuck. We was beating on the windows, trailers, about to kick the door in.
And sober. That's the scary part.
We went in their
sober
fence.
and hot. and mad.
I went in their fence, and there was like 5 pot plants
Yeah,
growing. We
yeah.
tore all those up, and threw them out of there.
Did you call the cops?
Yes.
No,
He
they
met us.
called the cops.
They called the cops.
Yeah, once we flipped the power, I knew they were freaking because I knew they were in there. She's like, "There's nobody here but me." We're like, "Bitch, they ain't left." So I flipped the power on their whole trailer, and it wasn't 5 minutes, and the cops were there.
Yeah. The best part was I was walking around the trailer, walking back towards your dad's place, and there was David and the whole crew of people, and they couldn't see me.
He thought you were one of the guys.
And everybody's like, "We'll fight you, motherfucker! We'll fight you!" I mean, I felt like
You're like, it's Justin.
what's the musical off the 50s or 60s of
West Side Story.
yes, like everybody get their shanks out and ready to shank each other. I'm like, it's me. Well, they couldn't see me because the shadow was coming over me. I mean, David was like, "I'll kill you." I'm like, "Please don't." It's me.
Just coming through, bro. It's okay. That's funny.
I remember if I could have taken a picture of how everybody stood, even your dad stood that way at the West Side Story. Like, "We're going to shank you."
Yeah. Come on. Let's do it.
And I remember thinking like, and I remember at least 2 or 3 times walking to them. I turned behind me to make sure nobody was behind me
Right.
because the way everybody was acting, like
We matter than fuck.
somebody was behind me. They were everybody's shank.
Right.
Um,
Good thing they didn't come out.
Right,
Basically.
yeah.
I saw a couple of them. So after that meth head, because he was over trying to fight my dad.
right.
The meth heads.
And people got to understand is, and this is something that we're both learning, and I'm really feeling it heavy. That's your dad with your son at his grandpa's.
Right.
What you'll do for your kids nowadays, and in the past, is crazy. So, yeah.
Hey, you want to know what my favorite song is?
What's that?
What's it called, Lisa? The song that I told the guy on vacation. The Hawaiian dude. What's his name? What's it called?
Not the Hawaiian.
It's Monsters.
Monster by
Yes. Yeah,
No,
the Hawaiian guy that sang. Yeah.
That was good as fuck.
Yeah,
No,
he's Hawaiian.
that's who
Yeah.
did it on American, but the real guy's called.
Yeah. No, they sang it together.
It's James Blunt. It's the
James Blunt.
original.
Yeah. But what you do for your kids,
James Blunt. Listen
And-
to it. Monsters. Good
Yeah.
song.
but I will say this about the podcast and what you guys have generated and what you're talking about and how you've set it up that you're not bragging on the concept of what you've done
Right.
in the past. You're taking it more so into a side of where you can come from, the deep, dark the depths, and then build it to what you've built, which
Right.
is crazy. But I will say I never touched a hard drug, anything, because of what you guys have went through.
Right.
And I didn't know you. I didn't really know you, but I knew what effect it had on you.
Right.
And I can say to this day, I've never touched a hard drug, nothing.
Don't worry, I took plenty for both of us.
But it's inspiring because if you think back of our childhood, I mean, and then what you've succeeded to,
Right.
but what you're just because I saw what you went through and your whole family went through when you went through the phases of cooking or running crazy.
I also feel like there's also reasons. Like, I'm good with it.
No, there's 100%. There's a lot of reasons why
Yeah.
you did that.
Yeah, I'm good with it. I went through a lot of stuff as a kid.
Yes.
But like Lisa and I, and it won't be an episode, I don't think we recorded it, but we just had an astrology reading.
Yeah.
I'm open to whatever.
Yeah.
I'll listen to stuff, especially about stars is what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I didn't know how much stuff your astrology could go into
yeah.
detail about your life. Like we had this craziest couple hours. It was fun. You and your
Yes.
wife should do it.
Astrology by-
It was Astrology by Sammy. Name drop. That's what it's called. Like
Right.
Astrology by Sammy.
my
She's
friend.
our friend out of Carterville, Illinois, and she's good.
Yeah.
Like she read us so much stuff that I'm like, how did she know all that?
Right.
Like just she can pinpoint your characteristics
Right.
all by the time and the way everything was. And I believe in I mean, there's reasons why people have been studying astrology since,
Oh, sure.
you know, they're writing it on stone walls.
Right.
There's something going on there.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said, from what you.
But that's what I was getting at. She said that she's like, you know everything somehow.
Right.
She's like, nobody really knows how, or you
Right.
don't know how. You
Right.
just can see things and figure it out real quick. But like, say it again, intuition and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I'm not saying I know everything, but like I think it's called common sense. Like I can look at stuff and see how it works.
No,
And,
it's you don't make mistakes without learning.
it's a good point.
And that's what you've done.
I've made a lot of mistakes, but I've learned every
You've
time.
learned, and that's
Yeah.
where you build off. I've seen
Right.
this. I've done this.
Right.
Don't do that, or hey, do
Right,
that.
because I do make mistakes.
Right.
Don't get me wrong.
Right.
I'm not saying I don't make mistakes.
Right.
It's been a growing pain for a long
Yes.
time.
It's something that's
Fool me
complimentary.
once,
That is
shame on me.
Right.
Fool me twice,
Right.
or whatever.
It's no, it's very unique to sit in your podcast room and to know that 20 years ago, when I was hearing your name,
Right.
you weren't around, and I was, but to where
Do
you come to now.
Do you remember the guy at
That I look up
Hardee's?
to you. I'm
Right.
looking up to you.
Do you remember the guy at Hardee's? I pulled up and headbutted him. You were there.
Was I on crutches?
You called me and I was at the bar.
I was on crutches.
You were probably a kid. So
I was.
was I at the bar and I worked at Hardee's, or this guy said I stole his iPod, AirPod or something. I don't know what the fuck it was. Who was it, Lisa?
Oh yes.
Do you remember when I headbutted him in the parking lot?
No, I don't.
You were there, I think.
I know. That's when he would spit in people's hamburgers, and I thought I'm never ordering
Yeah.
Hardee's.
So
I was on crutches.
So this guy, yeah,
Yeah,
we won't name him, but this guy that works at Hardee's, my buddy worked at Hardee's.
at the time.
My buddy did steal his shit. I didn't know about it. It was like an iPod or some shit. I don't know. My buddy's like, hey, I'm taking that guy's shit. I'm like, I don't give a fuck what you do. I'm smoking meth. I don't really care. You know what I mean? Let's take his shit. I don't think I was smoking meth this time, but I'm like, I don't care, you know. He just told me he stole this guy's AirPod. But then I'm out at the bar. Maybe I wasn't at a bar. I was somewhere young. And you called me and you said, hey, there's this guy up at Hardee's saying that you stole something from him. You know, the last thing I stole, I was 12, and it was at Walmart, and I got in big ass trouble for it. So I always prided myself on not stealing.
Right.
You know, I might steal some anhydrous or something, but that doesn't count. I needed that shit.
Right.
But I wouldn't go steal. Like, I never stole somebody's stuff usually. You know, I
Right.
wasn't one of those people. So this guy says I stole something, and I'm like, I'll be right motherfucking there. And I remember I pulled up, and when I got out of the car, because he was like all pissed off saying he's going to beat me up. But right when I heard about it, boy, I was like, I'll be right fucking there. And I pulled up, and I jumped out, and I started walking towards him, and he started walking backwards. And he said, Jesse, about the third Jesse. He was trying to plead. Well, I headbutted him, and he was the one I headbutted in the cheek. I was aiming first, because a headbutt is so violent, man. I mean, they were just violent, so I was pissed off. So I'm going to use my violent tool.
You can make it where it doesn't hurt you.
It doesn't hurt you at all, dude. I could fucking headbutt the fuck out of you. It's dangerous. You don't want to headbutt people because your skull right there is like that thick.
Right.
And it can hurt some stuff. But I found out that if you take your fucking hat off, because when you do it with your hat on, it hurts like a motherfucker.
Oh,
So don't have your hat like that.
Right.
Or like that.
Take it off.
Yeah. But anyways, I was walking towards him, and I went to headbutt him, and he pulled back, and I headbutted him in the cheek, and it just laid it open.
Oh, right.
And I instantly felt bad. But he dropped that subject.
Right. Yeah, that's what you have to
I think
do.
I made my buddy give me that MP3 player thing, too. I didn't even know how to work it, but I was like, fuck, I had to go get in a fight over it. Give it to me.
Yeah, you know, it's just, I don't know, it's generational, but it's kind of an upbringing that we were naturally, I can't say it was taught to us. It was just naturally. It's just how you do it.
I think it's all the gunpowder and raw meat that we were fed throughout the years by our grandpa that liked to cook. He liked to cook his steak for like 10 seconds.
Me and Charlie were
And
sitting
pour
one
a little
night,
gunpowder on it.
and I'll tell this story. Me and Charlie were sitting one night, and he was adamant that when I'd come over to his house, he'd have his fridge stacked with Paps, grab us 2. We'd sit there and drink. And one night, clear as day, he looked at me and said, I don't think you have the grit that I have. I don't think you have it. And I was like 24, 25 at the time.
He was like 60. He's like, say
No,
something.
shit. He was
Say
like,
something.
he was
Say
like,
something.
no, he was 70,
Right.
late 70s. And I remember it bothered me so bad.
Right.
I was like, what do you mean by that? He's like, I just don't think you have it. I was like, well, I'll prove you wrong. I guarantee it. And there's been multiple times I want to be like, oh, if you were still around.
Right. Oh,
Say, hey.
I'm sure he knew.
Oh, he knew.
That was probably, I'm not going to lie, that might have been around the time you were modeling the underwear.
No, it could have been.
I mean, he might have been flipping through his magazine and been like, this motherfucker is not doing that.
You know, and it was,
Justin was what was it? Hollister or Calvin Klein?
Hollister.
Justin was a Hollister model for a while.
For a short
What do you
period.
say?
Find that pic.
Yeah, find that pic.
Short period. But you know, it was, and that's what's big. I'm learning that, and it's hard to do as a parent. But that was like corrective criticism,
Right.
and he was hard on me.
Right.
But it drove me to be better.
Did you ever work for him in the summers?
I've got some voicemails that freak you out, but
It was brutal, dude.
yeah, he
I
was
done it for a
tough.
few years, 2 or 3.
Remember the little clippers he'd have that you'd go underneath the fence
Oh yeah,
on the pool?
under the vinyl fence. He wouldn't want you weed eating around it because the weed
No.
eater would
Tear it
crack
up.
the fence. So you'd have to get the little shears or whatever,
They don't even fucking
the
make those
pruners
anymore.
or whatever they're called. Yeah,
They don't even
hurt
make
your
them
hand.
anymore.
Your hand be hurting.
Yeah.
Like how many
Oh.
times? Like
All the way around the fence. Yeah.
He used to have me come over and I would clean his car. And I mean, as a kid, I'm like 14 or 15. How many times can I fuck up on cleaning a car? But it was a
Right.
bunch, dude. Like I would be washing, I'd just be wet. And I know when I take a shower, start at my head
Right.
and I work my way down my body. Right, I'm not gonna clean down here and then clean up here with dirty water running down.
Right.
Well, I do the same thing with the car. Well, I'm just getting it wet. He'd be like, "What? What?" I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Are you dumb?" I'm like, "What did I do?" He's like, "You start at the top." I'm like, "I'm sorry."
Right.
Boy, he was tough, dude.
Oh, he's tough. I mean,
tough.
and you know what was funny is he was so critical on the vehicles being clean. And I remember I had a truck and he came out and he opened the door and he's like, "Too clean for me." So I looked at me, I'm like, which one is it?
Right.
You know?
Too clean.
But it was that, you know, that criticism that my dad, I'm sure Troy gave to our parents, our dads.
He made me clean the white walls so he'd have white wall tires on his Cadillac,
Right.
my grandma's Cadillac, which would be like the ring around it was white.
yeah.
He'd make sure
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
out. And he would make me take a damn SOS pad.
Oh, yeah.
The metal
Yeah,
with
oh,
the
yeah.
sharp
Yeah.
and shit. My
Yeah, oh,
little
yeah.
baby hands couldn't handle that
Yeah.
shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
This is my
right.
first job.
Right.
He's got me holding this sharp metal thing. I would scrub the tires.
Yeah.
Until them some bitches were just
White.
white as can be. And clean this car. I would mow this yard. I would drive this little snapping turtle. Or
Oh,
no,
yeah.
what the hell is it called?
Snapper.
It was a snapper.
Snapper.
No,
Yeah.
it's Forrest Gump.
Yeah, it's
Lisa,
Forrest Gump Snapper.
Forrest Gump mower is what I'd
Yeah.
have. And I would drive that bitch all around town.
Yeah, I remember he put me for $20 a week, and he gave me a triangle on the back of his riding lawnmower, which wasn't the snapper, and he put a Bush Cheney sign on it at the time. I thought I'm gonna get run over, and I would drive from his house
Yeah.
to the
Different First Street, Bryan Street,
Bryan
apartments.
Street. I'd hit Bryan
The
Street. I'd hit the
office.
office, First Street, and then drive back
Yep.
and then mow his house.
Well, yeah, you did the same thing
Yeah,
then. That's what I would do.
$25.
25.
Yeah, I remember thinking I'm gonna get run over. I would drive that riding lawnmower from there.
Yeah. I was on the snapper. You had one with the steering wheel.
Yeah, I had a steering
Mine
wheel.
had like 2 bars.
Yeah,
Like I was on the little mower. Only I threw in Aldean's.
Okay,
So I had to go from his house. I would go
How
from
far is that?
in miles, probably 5.
Good Lord.
The
that's a
route we
bunch.
had to take, we'd go from his house, drive down, hit one apartment building. go in the middle, you'd hit the office. And then you'd go up to the next apartment building on the other end of town. Then I would drive to Aldine's. One day I'm going to Aldine's. I mow Aldine's yard. That's my grandpa's sister. So I'm coming home. I see this boy I know. Me and him are buddies. We hang out.
Right.
And he comes out. I'm riding the mower down the damn street. And he's at a rough house. This house, like, I wasn't allowed to go to this house. His parents were cooking meth.
Right.
And it was just rough. So he's over at their house. He comes out and he's like, yeah, so-and-so said you called me this. Like a racial slur. And I'm like, I never said that. And he's ready to fight. And I'm like, well, I'll tell you what, motherfucker. Let me go put my grandpappy's fucking mower up and I'll be right back and we'll fight. So I fucking drive off on the mower and I'm thinking like, why the fuck's old boy saying he thinks I said that? Like I didn't say it, you know.
Right.
But if he wants to get all fucking, he wants to get froggy, fucking let's go. So I take the mower back. I get on my bicycle. I pedal the fucking bicycle back over to where he's at. And dude's there and right out in the road, two old kids scrapping like we're fucking UFC fighters. Yeah. And I tell you what, he could get down. Yeah. He didn't whoop me and I didn't whoop him. We stopped because we were beating each other up.
Right.
Like, we were fucking hitting each other and, like, neither one of us were knocking each other out. We were hurting. We were both like, fuck, we're all bloody and knotted up. We're like, okay.
Right.
Oh, fuck. But then the next day we were friends again. Another time, Aldine, my grandpa's sister, I'm mowing her yard and the fucking neighbor kid's fucking with me.
Right.
And I know the kid, but I'm like, dude, he was like fucking a foot shorter than me. Right. What are you thinking fucking with me at the time, you know? Like, I will fuck you up. And I'm mowing on my fucking snapper. He's talking shit. I go home. Fucking somebody knocks on the door. I'm eating dinner with my parents. We ate dinner at 5:30 every night.
Right.
I could fucking go run off and do whatever I want. But if I ain't at home at 5:30 eat dinner, I was in trouble.
Right.
I'm eating dinner. Somebody bangs on the door. I go answer the door. It's the fucking kid with another dude that's bigger than me.
Oh, no.
What the fuck are you guys doing here? They're like, little dude, I want to fight. I'm like, well, I'll tell you what, motherfucker. Go out behind that barn right there. I'll put my shoes on.
Right.
He had braces.
Oh, no. That's a bad.
It was the teacher's.
So mess your hands up.
It was the teacher's son. It was my teacher's son.
Yeah.
Which made it worse. So we go, I'm like, go out there. I put my shoes on. My parents, I can't eat. Like, if I leave the dinner table, they're already pissed off.
Right.
Who the fuck's banging on the door for one?
Right.
The fuck you doing getting up? So I'm like, I'll be right out there. So I run out there behind the barn. And I just come around the barn. I'm ready to go. I fucking run up and just start whooping this dude. He had braces, and them braces fucked his mouth up, dude. Everywhere I'd hit him in the mouth, blood. He had skin and shit hanging out of his mouth when I got done. He didn't even hit me one time.
Yeah, fuck your hands up too.
Yeah. He did. Is that what the guy had braces?
Yeah, the guy had braces, top braces.
Oh yeah, that hurt.
My dad was like, why did your hand look like that? I'm like, he's like, would you hit his zipper and go down? I'm like, no, he had braces.
Damn.
He had top braces.
Not no more, probably.
Yeah.
Not with your hand looking like that.
But I mean, getting back to all of this, I mean,
I think it's the shows we watched as kids. I don't want to get off track here, but you ever seen A River Runs Through It?
Yes.
It's a good movie.
I tell you what, the one movie I will say, there's two people I want to compliment on all this, and I'll dive into this in a minute about the second one, but the Peanut Butter Falcon.
Never saw it.
Oh my gosh, Shia LaBeouf.
I know who you're talking about, but I'm not a fan.
Yeah, so he is with a disabled child. It's an excellent movie. Excellent.
You lost me.
No.
Lost me completely. What were we talking about? Shia LaBeouf and a disabled person, but what was it? What's the movie about?
Basically just hardships. Hardships, people having hardships together.
I like what's that fucking movie I like? Lawless.
Lawless. Excellent. Yes.
Good movie.
Yeah.
I always tell grandma about these good movies.
Yeah.
We got a grandma, Charlie's wife, that's badass still. So like
tough.
That one movie, Law Abiding Citizen.
Yes.
That dude's badass. I'm like, Grandma, you got to watch this movie. She
Right.
calls me. She's like, that was good. I'm like, yep.
Peanut Butter Falcon. With Shia LaBeouf. And it's a very... I was scrolling through because we went out on the internet for a week. And luckily I was able to scroll and it said it showed like top movies. And this was one of them. on Netflix, and it was an excellent movie.
I'll watch it.
One thing I will talk about, this is off subject, but last weekend I take my wife and 2 boys to Carlisle to watch Stale Cracker. And
Okay.
everybody's like, Stale Cracker? Like, what are you talking about? I was like, you've not seen him?
I thought everybody knew him.
Everybody knew him.
Stale Cracker.
So the hat that I'm wearing now, I think it says the original Yard Pimp.
Okay.
So the guy is built like a brick shit house.
He's from like Louisiana, right?
Louisiana, yes.
They usually are.
Yeah, and he's got...
They're wrestling alligators down there.
He's done so many different podcasts. A lot of people, because his hair, he's got long white hair, and people are like, is that a wig? And he's like, no, it's not. And he would take his hat off because you never see a video without his hat on.
Right.
But he can cook anything Cajun.
Dude, you have a Cajun cookout every year. You have a big old...
And what's crazy about it, so when I talked to him, I was like, listen, every recipe that I've done the Cajun cookouts off of are off of him.
Mm-hmm.
And for free, I can get on his websites or on his TikTok, YouTube,
You've
Instagram.
been talking about him for like 3 years, 4 years.
So he's the guy I go to.
Yeah.
And I watch it. And
so Stale Cracker, so you know, my cousin for the like probably last 4 years or 5 years has had a crawfish boil because he was so obsessed with watching you cook how good those crawfish were. He was like,
Yes.
I got to get this recipe. You
Yes.
literally drove like
Yes.
to other states.
Louisiana,
Where'd you go?
Arkansas.
To get these crawfish.
Yes.
And then we'd have a big party and boil them up with your recipe. So, and then you finally met him at a crawfish boil.
And what's so cool about it is he's just like a guy like me and you. I mean, he's so friendly. He saw Ryder, my youngest son, and Ryder's knees were all tore up, and he's like, son, when I was your age, I was just like it. And he was just super nice, and but their seasoning, everything, their seasoning now is sold at Walmart.
Really?
So you can get Stale Cracker, you can get original or hot, and then I've got off this, like they had like a little care package that you could buy, and it was like basically the 2 seasonings, mild or original and hot, and then the one of like Tabasco sauce, but hot sauce, and it's excellent. I mean, but everything, all his stuff's free.
Well, Stale Cracker, I'm sure you started somewhere about the same spot I started at.
Yes, and that's what's so cool about it. I mean, and he like I said, to see him and talk to him and how friendly he was, Stale Cracker, I think you need to be on Reckless Success.
Yeah, Stale Cracker. This podcast is all about entrepreneurs starting from the bottom and making some success.
Yeah. From
your videos and all your merchandise, I'm sure you've got some success going on.
Yes.
So if you want to come on Reckless Success, we'd be glad to have you on.
Take a break.
Wrap it up. What time is it, Lisa? Damn, really? I feel like doing push-ups.
I'd wrap it up.
All right. I'm going to say the thing where we're going to go to 2 weeks for the summer because it's just fucking busy.
Let's say every other week.
So you need to see me. You talk.
Yeah, so Stale Cracker, come on. But back to the Reckless Success. So guys, right now we've got 2-a-day football with one child.
Right.
We got T-ball with the other child. We've got work is kicked off to where we're just swamped with that. We're into real estate and we're doing this podcast. We're doing it weekly, but for the summer, we're going to cut back to a summer schedule of every other week. So there'll be 2 episodes a month, Sunday night, every other week. And then once we get into winter time, things slow down, we'll bump back to a wintertime schedule of every week.
Yeah.
But right now, it takes us about probably 15 to 25 hours from start to finish of each episode, and we're doing it weekly. So we got to put that time to spending with our kids. Right. But we'll just cut back to every other week. That should level us out to where we're good. So from here on out, it'll be 2 weeks, and then this winter we'll go back to weekly. Or if enough of you some bitches would hit that subscribe button, I won't have to work and I'll do this shit every day. Me and them Nelk boys or whatever the hell they are. Right. Nelk or something like that. Me and fucking Who am I thinking of? Neon. Me and Neon will be fucking
All right.
streaming, and we'll have to do this excavating. So
We just get Stale Cracker on there, and I think
there you
we'll
go,
get set.
Stale Cracker, and
Yeah.
I got potential. I got a good one coming potentially. I just
Yeah.
got to follow up. I have talked to some people that are up there,
Yeah.
but we'll
That's all
see
it
where it
takes,
goes.
man.
So, all right, guys, see us next week. Nope, see us in 2 weeks for Reckless Success.
All right. Thanks for having us.
Yep, thanks, Justin.
Yep.
All right, guys, we're going to wrap up. You can follow us on TikTok and YouTube at reckless.success, Instagram at recklesssuccess. We're on Spotify and all major podcast services. Hit that subscribe button, please. For more information on May Excavating, check out our website or TikTok. That's a wrap. Thanks.